guys, welcome back. Well, it's Sunday the 24th of November, and just before we get into this one, if you do enjoy my content, then please consider supporting me and leaving me a big thumbs up, because it really helps. Our game of choice this week is Battlestar Galactica on the PlayStation 2. Right, Google Stadia. Crash and burn? Well, it didn't launch with everything, did it? Let's get into this one.
Sound General Quarters. Set Condition 1 throughout the ship. Attention all warriors. We are under attack. This is not a drill. Blue Wing, intercept and destroy all Cylon raiders.
Orders acknowledged, Galactica. You heard the Lady Blue flight. Engage the enemy.
Well, hey, Google Stadia launched at last. It actually launched 19th of November this year. But it will also be lacking some key features. One of the biggest, most important parts of any console's launch is that first impression. And if any console gets a bad rap in its first few weeks, it can be hard to fight back against that image. Gamers, after all, are persistent and they're biased. This could end up being a bit of an issue for Google Stadia. Now, Google's approach to the soon-to-launch game streaming platform is a bit different. It will launch with many of its key features pending. Here's what will be missing, or is missing. Stream content, stat share, crowd play, in other words, all the multiplayer and social features for sharing and collaborating on games. The achievement system, the ability to use Chromecast Ultras to play games, family sharing and a buddy pass system that allows people to give their friends a free 3-month pass. Some of these features will be live in the coming weeks, while others are promised vaguely for the end of the year or sometime next year. Well, why would you launch with all this missing? I want it perfect. You should want it perfect from day one. I've paid for it to be perfect, so why isn't it? Partial refund, please. Now, I'm reading an article here, and I must admit it's done very well. It's by Matt Kamen, and he's Wired. And he's put here, Google's much-hyped streaming platform Stadia is now out in the wild, and like any new digital service, it's having some teething problems. From a functionality inability to truly play anywhere, and is its core promise to delayed orders from early backers, reports of its not truly rendering at 4K, and criticisms of its slender software selection. While frustrating, these are all fixable issues. But Stadia's biggest challenge, and he is right, it might actually be just Google itself. What he means by that is Google have a very poor track record of anything that doesn't, blow people away and is an utter success from the word go, it gets dropped. They just don't back it. So there's a possibility this is already crash and burn. This really is potentially crash and burn. So just whittling down what he's put here, Stadia required people to buy the Premier hardware bundle and also the earlier Founders Edition. And that was roughly, he's put here 119, I'll just round that up, £120. Now, after enjoying 3 months of included Pro account access, unlocking the 4K HDR and surround sound streaming quality of games, Stadia owners then are asked to pay £8.99 monthly Pro subscription. All that is on top of buying games individually, mostly Now, he's put industry standard prices. In other words, you buy a game for 60 quid, you never really own it, and you've got nothing physical. That doesn't bear well with me. I'm a collector, so I'm very biased to that already. But in 5 years' time, am I still going to be able to play that game if I want to? Now, a lot of people would argue, why would you want to? Whoa. Let's just rewind a little bit. I paid 60 quid for it. What do you mean I can't play it in 5 years' time? Sorry, it doesn't fit well with me. Now, also he goes on to say, given the rates of 4K adoption, they are actually still low in Europe. And it is expected, and this is a surprising figure, that by 2023 still only 46% of homes, and this is Europe, will have 4K screens. So why are you going to pay for a subscription when you haven't even got a 4K resolution TV? It's a tough sell. You're not going to do it. But thankfully, the free service comes out next year, which offers 1080p quality. But you'll still need to buy those games at full whack. It doesn't sit well with me. Problem for Google is straight away, you've got the wrong pricing policy. Why do I want to pay top whack for games, then pay on top of that a monthly subscription to play them, but never have anything physical to back that up? It's not going to work well, certainly not. If the game was reduced in price, and I'm only saying half price because I can, that looks a lot more attractive, does it not? Now, while there is also a question over whether the market is ready for streaming games, personally I don't think so, but I'll get into that a little bit later. And people may, by and large, be happy with abandoning Blu-rays for streaming games. Gamers are often also collectors. Now, we have seen a very large rise in people purchasing physical releases of what were originally digital only, and the likes of limited run physical releases. There's a big demand for the collectability there. There's a good practical reason for this too. While films and television series are passive media that can be watched on any platform so long as the original material survives, games are mostly locked to the platform of release. So the psychological of having to hold on to your old games but also your old platforms to play them is one that the games industry has by necessity frosted over the past 4 decades. Shaking that is going to be hard. Now, even PC gaming, where box releases are now getting rare, the ability to download and have your games installed locally is cherished and still gives a sense of ownership. Streaming games that you will never actually possess, even in digital download form, is a massive shake-up of how players perceive and consume their collections. If games are removed from digital storefronts, they're usually still downloadable for those who bought them, and if not, can be backed up locally. If Google switches off Stadia in 5 years' time, what happens to all those games that people have purchased? Because you ain't going to be getting your money back, you're just going to lose it. Now, this is what does not attract me to Google Stadia. Now, I do want to love Google Stadia. The concept is fantastic, and it is most certainly the future of gaming. But it just doesn't feel right at the moment. It feels like they've got the wrong pricing policy. The setup isn't right whatsoever. Now, I did mention that I said personally, I don't think the industry, and when I say industry, I'm getting my words wrong there, I don't think we've got fast enough internet speeds. I don't think the coverage globally is anywhere near good enough either. Traditionally, playing a game, it requires obviously a console or computer that sucks up energy, makes lots of noise and takes up space in our homes. We all know this. These new streaming gaming services instead rely on fields of servers in some air-conditioned warehouse to handle the actual gameplay, and then stream that gameplay to you over the internet like a super responsive Netflix. The pitch is that you can play your games anywhere, at any time, provided you have a solid internet connection. Now, the problem is, and reading this article, I've noticed, is that the internet is rarely robust and it needs to handle game streaming. Unless you live in a big city with access to big internet, game streaming and even 4K movie streaming, the internet, and this one is the US, it's abysmal, particularly in the rural areas. Our friends is put here living 60 miles outside of Colorado Springs that struggle with getting HD Netflix streams. Stadia would be impossible. That's because game streaming isn't really just like streaming Netflix. When you press a button on your controller, the signal has to travel all the way to the server, be registered in the game on the server, and then that response has to travel all the way back to your screen. And it has to happen so fast you don't notice the lag. Plus, it has to give you a really sharp, high-resolution image. Otherwise, it will look like you're playing a game on a potato. That all requires a lot of very fast, responsive internet. If the internet is fast enough, these services can give you a good approximation of playing on a console without an actual console. But if the internet isn't fast enough, the problems will tell you as much as you have 0 games to play. If you haven't got ideal internet speeds, and I'm actually going to say 100 megabytes per second, Google Stadia doesn't want to say no. And it doesn't want to tell you which games are either not going to work or going to perform very poorly on not ideal internet speeds. Now, reading the rest of his article, he was trying to play Destiny 2 on 20 megabytes per second, and it wasn't having any of it. In fact, he goes on to say it was practically unplayable. But he did add that Stadia did work better on Chromecast Ultra, playing on a Pixel 3a provided by Google, and it also gave him better results. The Stadia app is also technically available on iOS, but downloading it will just remind you that the service doesn't work on iOS devices yet. The Android app, however, has a major flaw. You can't easily hop back to the main menu of the app if you're in a game. As it is now, Stadia is a tough sell, particularly when we're talking about Google. While I might trust Apple or Microsoft to fully commit themselves to a badly launched product like Stadia, Google has a history of cutting its losses. It likes to launch all kinds of neat tools and apps, then quietly axe them a few years later. Wave, Reader, Plus, even the rollout of Google's ISP, Google Fiber, has slowed down nearly to a stop. There's also the fact that the pool of people who can really appreciate Stadia's promise is actually very, very small. Do you own a PS4 or an Xbox One or a PC? Congratulations, you have no need for Stadia. Own a Switch? Feel great, because you can actually play it in hotels or on planes. Something impossible to do with any game streaming service at this moment. If you don't own any of those consoles and really want to play games, then Stadia could be a solution. It requires significantly less buy-in than a console and is more portable than even the Switch. But right now, I just don't think it's worth it. Stadia is a beta you have to buy, and that's never ever going to be a good idea. Well, why don't we take a look at this again in, say, 12 months' time? You know, the new free service will be out by then, and I really do hope they've turned this around, because it is the future of gaming. It really is. Well, I'd like to know your feelings, guys, and your thoughts. I really would. Have you got this? Is it actually working for you? Let me know in the comments below. I'd like to thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting me. I'll catch you all again. Take care.